there, I am Mr. Brass. I was watching the NonSequitur show and I came across Caitlin Chloe and I noticed how she went into anti-theism and made claims about religion. Now, I, as the democratically elected asshole and noted destroyer of anti-theist happy fun times, I have decided to take it upon myself to evaluate her statement and debunk it. Here are some of her comments.
But I do think that a lot of religious people are severely indoctrinated and have been generation after generation after generation. And it leads to poor education. It leads to bad ideas. It leads to inequality of people. And I think that there are a lot of ways that we can work these things out. But part of that is breaking people out of this religious mindset.
Now, with that out of the way, let's go into the statement about indoctrination. For one, the negativity of indoctrination has to be shown, not taken as axiomatic. The 12-step program, along with any treatment plan, follows a specific set of rules that requires cooperation and an unquestionable belief for it to work. Casey, like a lot of her anti-theist counterparts, deal with unshakable axioms that without, their arguments and beliefs would collapse under. This will be a side rant, but I feel it's important to bring it to attention that religious indoctrination isn't the only type of indoctrination, as political indoctrination is just as real of a thing, and with the election of Donald Trump, it is all too common for me to see parents indoctrinate their kids to be one specific political party rather than letting them figure it out for themselves. Just like the typical argument anti-theists bring up against religious people, it is fair to say that a person is only a member of a specific political party because of the fact that that was the political party their family endorsed. I actually consider political indoctrination worse than religious indoctrination, as in theory, many religions and God could be disproven in principle, but with a political party, at best, you could say a particular party is failing to meet the subjective needs of the people. That wouldn't make them objectively wrong, just unpreferable. With that said, I'd like to tell an anti-theist which form of indoctrination do they think has more of an impact on their life, religious or political. If you say political, then why not be an ANCAP or anti-political person? Atheists are glad to jump on the anti-theist bandwagon, but tend to never want to go the extra mile, be consistent, and extend to politics. Casey should also know there is a distinction between having a belief in God and having a belief in a particular religion. Having a belief in God in of itself isn't really something you can be indoctrinated with, as it appears to be natural, as the books Justin Barrett's Born Believers and Andrew Newberg's Why God Won't Go Away show. Religions like Christianity aren't indoctrinating kids with the belief in God, but rather they are informing them about a belief they already have. I always put it like this: belief in God doesn't have to be indoctrinated, but a belief in a particular religion often has to be. Also, if anything, the science, if anything, shows it is atheism that has to be forcefully put onto children, which papers like Being Human, Religion Bound to Believe by Pascal show. It takes hard cognitive work to maintain atheism, and thus it would take that to convince a child. Now on to the second statement. Does this indoctrination lead to lower education? I don't know how she would get that idea, as I see no correlation between religiosity and lower education. The effects of education on Americans' religious practices, beliefs, and affiliations by Philip Schwadel show a different case. Christians with college degrees are more likely to attend church services on a weekly basis than who never have been to college. They pray at the same rate, and the only difference is them stating their belief in God is absolutely certain. Overall, the study found when doing factors that high school Christians and college educated Christians, they found that they are roughly equal in religious commitment, meaning that as far as indoctrination and lower education goes, it doesn't really correlate. William James, a meta-analysis on the effects and contributions of public charter and religious schools on student outcomes, showed even when adjusting for socioeconomic factors, private religious schools have the highest level of academic achievement. They also have fewer gangs, fewer drugs, and greater racial harmony than public schools. So if anything, one can argue religious indoctrination can lead to a greater academic success using those studies. KC also makes the argument that religion promotes bad ideas, which is a vague objection. What exactly is a bad idea? Is it merely an idea that doesn't conform to an already assumed conclusion, or is it promoting ideas that are contradicting all known evidence? I don't need to say how the first one is stupid, and if it is the second one, then with all the atheist flat earthers and religious figure mythicist groups, it doesn't seem like the atheist community is immune from having bad ideas in that context. When you have atheist historians and philosophers pointing out all the BS that illiterate atheists pump out, I think it is a fair case to say that having an anti-theistic ideology will make you dumber in some areas. Lastly, in regard to inequality of people, I think one has to define that. One can be against same-sex marriage without being anti-gay people, as you can point out all the negatives of allowing it without saying anything bad about gay people, as people like Brendan O'Neill, who is an atheist, does. If you mean racism, well, yes, it is correlated among more religious people. Poverty, level of education, the environment are all factors that can't be ruled out, along with others. Also, intrinsic and extrinsic religiosity come into factor, and they produce different results when you do put them into place. With extrinsic religiosity, aka self-centered religiosity, they correlate well with prejudice. See G.W. Alport and J.M. Rause's Personal Religious Orientation and Prejudice in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology, and Religious Orientation and Prejudice, a comparison of racial and sexual attitudes by Gregory M. Herrick, which all show this, and it also shows that intrinsic religiosity, aka more committed religious people, don't correlate well with it. While anti-theists accuse religious people of having an all-or-nothing attitude, I've yet to meet an anti-theist that doesn't think in black and white. Well, I hope my response has been successful. That is all for today. This is Mr. Brass saying goodbye and get wise.